Oh man, I haven't done a deck profile in ages because of the Rona. But I guess I'll do one for Vanguard Zero. So strap yourself in, boys. Let's get right to it. Hey everyone, it's Kai from WCC, and you might have seen from my other video that I pulled 4 Perfect Raizers from my pulls in the new set, and that was pretty lucky. Good times for me. So I decided to build a deck, and when I built the deck, after a while, I realized I did not pull any of the grade 2 high-powered Raizer customs, so that was pretty bad. I was gonna buy some Asura Kaisers, like craft Asura Kaisers with what I had, but I realized that I needed to craft high-powered Raizer custom, more important. So I had to craft four of these. So as such, this deck probably is not fully complete. There are some things I would want to change, but I'll go through the deck first and talk about what needs to change, okay? So starter, Battle Raizer, of course. You have to run 4 Null Guards now with everything getting crit. You got Dimension Police getting crit, with Nova Grapplers, Battle Raizer, Perfect Raizer getting crit, stuff like that. There is never a point where you don't run 4 Null Guards. I don't think there is that time. I run 4 of each set of Raizer just because they're Raizers. I want to ride a Raizer, then ride another Raizer, and that usually becomes good times. Even though the effects are kind of jank. Like, I hardly use this effect, although there might be some time where you want to hit 8 on a 13 and hit that 21 number, because there are a lot more 11Ks now in the meta compared to before. Before you just have Asura Kaisers and Dragonic Overlords hitting that 11, and the rest is just freelo. But now everything is just pretty much everything you fight will have some sort of 11K, and then if you fight a 10K, then it's good times, right? And the last card is just Tough Boy. Now you might think this is just a one-off jank card, but if you want to run less of any of the other things, I would put it in a Tough Boy, just because Tough Boys are 8K, 8 plus 13 is 21, and again, hitting that 21 number. Moving on to the grade 2s, we have the Raizers again. We've got Trans Raizer. This card is just amazing when you high roll well. If you don't high roll well, then that's your problem. High roll better. It's a Raizer name, get you pluses. High powered custom, again, Raizer. Not that great, it's only 8K. The problem with the Raizers is that they're slightly less powerful. So on the defense, they're kind of crappy. But this on the offense, 16, 19 hits really good numbers. And then the last slots here are kind of flexed. It depends how many Brutal Jacks you pulled. I've only pulled 2, but 2 is like an okay number. If you pulled 1, that's fine too. It just means that's your one-off, and the rest of the 4 is up to whatever you want to play. So here, I've decided to play 2 Brutal Jacks, then 2 Countercharger, and then 1 Kirara. So the Kirara is like just a one-off. I don't really care if I draw it or not. Maybe you want to just change it to a Countercharger or something else. But the way I see it is Countercharger 1, then these Raizers all use 2 Counterblast. I usually always want to use these Counterblasts, so like 5 is generally okay. I just whatever I draw, I just use it. And then these 2 Countercharges can kind of generate just an extra kind of effect combined with like a heal will let me do one of these effects more again. So it's just kind of those small little calculations. Doesn't really matter. If you don't like these kind of weird numbers, just put 3 Countercharges. I've seen people run 10Ks. That's fine too. Thing is, like, 10Ks used to be really good, but again, now there's more 11Ks. You're going to see like more cards with 11Ks. The 10K used to be able to hit grade 3s. Now you need a booster to hit grade 3s, and that's actually a big deal. It's a big deal, okay? So I decided to take them out. If everything needs a boost, you might as well run a 9K with a booster. And like, but if you think about it that way, right? If everyone's taking out their 10Ks to put in 9Ks, then at least your 10Ks at grade 2 can kind of counter their play. It comes down to a bit of that metagaming thing. And finally, the grade 3s. The grade 3s is where I would change some things up just because I don't have enough money. But yeah, 4 Perfect Raizer, you definitely need that. I would rather run more Asura Kaisers over more of these guys, more of these Death Metal Droids. But if you don't have Asura Kaisers, then you just run Death Metal Droids, and then I run 4 Cosmos. So basically, everything that is not Perfect Raizer, you can kind of change around. I prefer Cosmo Lords over your Death Metal Droids, because you can kind of do some weird shenanigans with it, like you can rest a Raizer, then eat the Raizer up with the Perfect Raizer. So like those kind of plays that you can't really do with Death Metal Droid. Death Metal Droid is just like always a consistent, like just CB1 get 3K though, so if you like that, that's fine, but Yeah, Cosmo Lords are also triple Rs, so they're not easy to come by. But if you had a choice, I would prefer the Cosmo Lords over the Death Metal Droids, and that means the more Asura Kaiser you have, I would start taking out Death Metal Droids. And again, so let's talk a bit about the meta. You want to hit 21 or hit over at least 11. So with old decks like Kagero, I remember Seal Dragon Blockade, people always complain how strong it is. Nowadays it's pretty bad, right? Like it's a 10k versus an 11k. Before the idea was that your 10k just didn't have to boost and you just keep on being aggressive. If you didn't draw boosters, whatever. You started running into problems later on, and more people started cracking more Dragonic Overlords. And in that meta game, if they drew the Overlord against your blockade, it could kind of like cuck you a bit because you play down a booster and then retire the booster, and then you have to draw into another one and things like that. So that was that metagaming around. But now that with more 11Ks, the blockade and things like that start to become like less relevant. You have a better matchup against like budget decks, right? Like Gold Rutile. If people don't have money, they're running Gold Rutile, or even Goku. Yeah, you have to trigger to hit. Those things all become like bad against you because you're just naturally 11k. Although you don't have retire, but you're 11k with a crit, and that crit also comes into play. You get fat. You don't even need a booster at the back. They can retire anything you want, but you just play front rows. And then this thing just slams with crit every turn, dealing damage. And you can randomly just win games as well. Like ideally, you keep your opponent at around 3 and start hitting out Sentinels. But if you just need a YOLO and try to go for that killing blow, go for it. You have to identify which matchups where you don't care about giving them damage because there's nothing they can do. So like against the Grand Blue, maybe you want to consider not giving them that 4th damage that early so they can use their big Mega Blast attack. Same thing with like other decks with good Mega Blast. But when you run into something like opposing Nova Grapplers, usually their counter blast is all used up. If they're not playing, or if they didn't ride like a Perfect Raizer thing, you just bash them, deal more damage. It's a damage race and just push them, right? So this comes down to that kind of train of thought. But yeah, this deck is pretty darn good. When you ride your Perfect Raizer, as long as you went 1-2 Raizer, it doesn't feel bad to like just suck in 2 more Raizers and just get a crit and just feel good. If you have any booster Raizers, just suck them in and just bash face. If you had a really terrible ride, then you probably need to re-ride a Perfect Raizer to hit your numbers. And then other times is if you have 2 open counterblasts and you draw another Perfect Raizer, just ride it and use the effect. Get the Battle Raizer out, and then just Battle Raizer and filter it back to the deck to draw another card. That's kind of your only way to filter into drawing nulls, so just make sure to keep that in your mind, unless you really need that CB for like Death Metal Droids, and that's about it. So overall, great deck. Go check it out. I'll probably be playing this deck for a while. I don't really want to use my brain. I don't want to keep on remembering or typing in notepad and stuff like that for Tsukiyomi. So yeah, that's why I'm really glad I pulled the 4 Perfect Raizers. So yeah, I did record some matches of me playing the deck, but it looks like the recording got corrupted and they all look like this. Just a bunch of pointy sticks, pointing hands around, so yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. Maybe I'll make another video later about this. If you guys want to, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, like the video and stuff like that, and see you guys in the next video. Bye!